Hello. In today's video, we're going to be going over a little bit on rules. I have other videos on the rules. I created one kind of doing a complex hello rules, but I'd like to go into this a little bit further. Here we have an example of that was done in the BPM Get Started book that's available by PacketPub. I highly recommend it. I believe this is also fairly similar to what is done in the BPM Oracle University course, which is also very worth the investment. And here you can see that what I have is a rule set, and I have values coming in specified by the bucket set. And you can see that these are literal values. And one of the things I wanted to start off with was why we actually use globals. I do not use globals here. But you can see that I have the bucket set, which is being utilized here, the discount bucket set. And so let's go into the bucket set and take a look at it. Now you can see that we've got hard-coded literal values here. And I just want to show you what happens, and this is exactly why we end up using um, globals. So let's change this to 0.7. The 0.9 discount was way too crazy. So now we do this, and we come over to our rule set, and look what happened. It doesn't know what to do. Now you know that somebody is going to do this, so you wouldn't want to do it this way. Okay? I'm going to close this out just so I don't change that, or save that. And we'll go back in here. And now, instead of using that in the bucket sets, and actually this will probably break it, but instead of doing that, we would do G discount high, G discount low, or medium, I should say, and G discount low. Okay, and then you can see now that it replaces everything with that. And I'm going to come over here and look at our approval matrix. Now it does change things here, but it changed things in a way that we can easily fix. Here you can see that it's the G discount high. So you would have to go over this, and the best way, of course, is to obviously do this from the very beginning and not hard code literal values in there. The whole idea being that you want to be able to update this, or have a business user preferably update this. I'm not going to save that. So that it can be done at runtime by just coming in here and updating the globals. And that would then not affect the rule set that you have been working with. So you can see here that everything was completely altered by just going in there and changing it to changing the bucket sets to globals, but global is the preferable way of doing it. So that's the first thing. I'm going to close this one up. And another thing that I really like about working with the rules is that you can actually set globals. So I'm going to do here as though I have an application where I want to have some globals set in the very beginning based on perhaps details of my customer or whatever. I created a very simple application here where I have facts that are coming in. Global input is based off of number of items, submit date, total cost, customer or award type, and basically something like silver, gold, platinum awards. And based off of that, I then look at the customer status, gold and silver. I think I had platinum before, but for simplification, I just made it gold and silver. And then cost, I would put it into a range of buckets. So based on these points, and then this would be points that I award. So 10K or 1K otherwise. And based on basically if they were gold, and their current price was from 0 to the threshold, then they would actually get a new status of silver. This is not the friendliest customer rewards program, and they would get points maybe even deducted. And here, if they had they were gold and they kept buying enough to get over the threshold of the minimum threshold cost, they would be put into the status of gold again. And again, here we have the points low. If they didn't go above the threshold, then they would stay the same, and if they did, then they'd get back up to gold. Very simplistic, but it just shows you how to do it, basically. Now, the other thing that I did start to work with here more is functions. And I find working with functions, especially dates, particularly difficult. You can see here that I've created a little function here, and I actually created that function over here, and you can see add years to calendar. Actually, it's add years to calendar, and you can do some very limited date work, or assigning a new calendar. I assume now with Java 8 this will all go by the wayside, but RL does support some very interesting functionality, and the kind of neat thing about it is that it's all kind of point and click. So you can call, you can return, you can't write anything that is not listed. So that's kind of helpful in a way if you're new to this and you don't really understand data types, because if you have an SSF date, the only things that will be available to you listed here in the functions, for example, will be things that correspond to the data type that you've selected. So that kind of makes it easy. Here you can see add years to calendar, and then here, when you do a return value of true, you can actually test it. Assuming that I'm popping in some values here, I just have a very simple calendar get instance and add 3 years equals 2017. Here I've done some working with Gregorian calendars and testing it. Again, let's see, convert. This one I just wanted to experiment with getting various calendars and then adding them, or getting a date action and doing a toString. Here I'm creating a Gregorian calendar based off of a short, which is just MMDDYY, based on what's in the function here. So let's see, add years, no, this one, where is that? Sorry. Oh, the other thing that I did, which is very interesting also, is that you can actually add facts that are on Java here, a Java function, or I should say method. If we go over here, I did a very simple little application just to show how it works, but you can do data actions. So here I have a number of different date manipulation things that I work with. So if I need to get a calendar date and change it to Gregorian, or I call it a JU date, which is the Java util.date, and then return it as just return the current date as opposed to creating it from a string, or and then here's a JU date to XML Gregorian calendar date, excuse me. So you can see that I'm putting in a Java util date and pushing out a XML Gregorian calendar date. So and I was able to import these by deploying this as a jar file and then adding a fact, basically just putting it in here and then pointing to the date actions jar and then pulling it in. And then once I'm there, I can actually see if it's this one. Let me just close this out. Yeah, here it is, data actions. This one, I was trying to remember where this short came from, but it actually was coming from here. If you see here, I have the short and based. I didn't want to get myself too confused with all the different variations of the timestamp. So a short would refer to the month or month, day, year, and you can see that this will run because I'm returning a true. So it's very interesting that you can actually import a Java fact or a Java jar file into the rules, although it kind of doesn't make sense because in a way making a rule itself is almost deriving a calculation based on conditions. So, but it is helpful to be able to use something that you've done in Java within the rules. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Have a good evening.